Hola, I am really impressed. Now, it's a great pleasure to be with you today to share what we have learned about infants' capacity, what do they know, and how they learn. Oh, sorry, my ideas are here. So, the best learner, on Earth, is not you adults. It's really this little guy. Because if you think of what babies are learning from 0, where they know nothing at birth, till 3 years, where they are able to speak, to exchange, to know who is who, that's really surprising. And I will give you a few examples during this talk about what we know now, about how these babies can develop these amazing capacities, these amazing learning capacities. So, but before to start, I want to show you how we test babies, how we know, and how we can say what I will try to say today. So the first thing we use in our laboratories is the curiosity of babies and their interest for novelty. For example, here you see 2 screens that the baby is seeing. On the left, you have alternating dots between 10 and 20 dots, and on the right, constant presentation of the same quantity, 20 dots. And I don't know if you have noticed before, maybe I can go back. You will see how the baby will turn to the alternating screen, showing to us that he is able to discriminate between 10 and 20 dots. He is not able to count, but the quantity is sufficiently different for this little one to be able to discriminate these 2 quantities. The other thing we use is surprise. And here the experimenters were looking at gravity. Do babies understand gravity? Yes, because like you in front of a magician, when something is impossible, they look longer. But the big breakthrough that we have had during these last years is the development of brain imaging techniques. So we have techniques like MRI or near-infrared spectroscopy in the middle of the screen, which allow us to know which part of the brain are working during a cognitive task. And we have EEG on the left and EMG on the right, which are techniques which allow us to know at what speed the information is going through the brain. But you can see now, with all this technique, we can look directly in the brain without needing behavior. But we are still using the novelty effect and the surprise effect. And to give you a few ideas of what is happening in our institute, you see here a baby coming to be tested. The little one she's 3 months old. We put on her this little nets of electrodes. You know, it's like a little hat. And after that, we will record the brain signal from each of these 128 electrodes, so quite a lot. And you see how this baby is attentive, how he's looking. So what we are testing here is whether the baby is able to associate the movement of the mouth, like E here, and the sound which was presented after, which was either A or E, so congruent or not congruent with the face. So if it's not congruent, and if they understand that a mouth which is opening should make a A, they will be surprised if it's not the case, if you present the E. Well, the technique is the MRI. So here it's a false MRI, but we train babies a little bit for them not to be afraid when they go in the right MRI, but you see it's a little bit the same design. And we push them, and we present, in fact, on the little screens they have above, images or in the ears, sounds for them to be to have a stimulation. And you see here the image that we can have. So what have we discovered during this last decade? First, that the brain is organized very early on, already during the last months of gestation. So here it's preterm babies, very young, at 6 months of gestation, so very small. It can be in the end. The brain is very smooth. Sorry, it's not. The movie was not working. I will try to go back. Well, sorry, it's not it's not moving. But what you can see is that when we were presenting to them syllables, they had a response to the difference between ba and ga, but also to the difference between a female voice and a male voice. And as you can see on the right part, the activity is very similar in these preterm babies as in a baby at 2 months old listening to a sentence as also in adults. So the brain circuits that make you just now listen and understand me are already present and responding at 6 months of gestation, and also in the fetuses. Another evidence I showed you before that they can perceive difference between 10 and 20, but they can also add. If you see that, and suddenly you have only 5 plus 5 equal 5, they are also a surprise. So there is many capacities in very numerous domains that we can see. But it's not only to have basic capacity at start, you should learn. And what we have noticed is, all these years is that the baby is not a sponge, he is not absorbing knowledge. He is making assumption and making prediction of what will happen. And it was demonstrated by this very nice study in which, I am so sorry because we tested before and the movies were working, but apparently not. Nobody can, okay, thank you. Well, so it was little balls going back and forth in this urn, and suddenly the urn was, so there was 3 blue balls and 1 yellow balls, and suddenly the balls was hidden, like you see now, and 1 ball was dropping, and if it was the blue balls that was alone, they were surprised, while when it was one of the 3 yellow balls, they were not surprised, showing that they were able to make probabilities of what should happen when they see this type of situation. But what is all these capacities that I've shown you can be very surprising for you, but most of them, we found them also in animals. They are not specific to humans. But now I enter in 2 specific capacities that we found in young babies that are crucial, and they may be only present in humans. The first one is the fact that babies are sensitive to communicative cues. For example, you are a baby, you have 3 months, or no, maybe a little bit older. You are 6 months, and you see your grandma eating pineapple, and she, because she does not like pineapple. But how do you know you are a baby? How do you know that it's only your grandma that does not like pineapple, or that pineapple is a poison, that nobody should eat that poison? So one of the problems that face a child in general is what he's seeing all around him or her. How does she know or does he know that this thing here is just a pure accident, or that it should generalize the knowledge? And now, what is important is the role of the adult. Because the role of the adult is to orient the attention, to give to the child the communication cues to help him to know that that thing that is now is presented to him, he should learn it forever. So, an example of that. You have here a woman, she has 2 objects in front of her, object A and object B, and she looked to object A and is very happy. And when she looked to object B, she makes a face. She's not happy. And after that, she looked at the baby which is in front of her and asks for an object. And what you see is a percentage of time the baby gives object A. So he understands, so they are toddlers, they are 14 months old. The baby understands that she prefers object A. Well, that situation is quite evident. But now, you have the same situation, but the first experimenter goes out, and you have a second experimenter coming. So now for the baby, it's quite difficult. It's exactly the pineapple situation I was talking about. Does experimenter 2 want the same object that experimenter 1 or not? And you see, you have 2 different situations. In the first case, on the top, the baby gives object A, but not in the second case. And what is happening, what is the difference between both cases, is that at the beginning, experimenter 1 is looking or not to the child. In fact, if you want to communicate an information, as I am doing now, I want to communicate an information to you. I want to convince you that what I am saying is important, that you should learn it, and you should remember it. I am looking to you, I am looking to your face, I am making this eyebrow movement to try to be quite communicative, and my voice is also trying to be quite entertaining. And it's what we are doing spontaneously. It's what teachers are doing. And maybe it's not what, for the moment, computers are not doing. So it's the fact that you are trying to establish a communication between you and the child, or you and the others, because you want to communicate an information. And infants are sensitive very, 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 very early on these communication cues. The second tool, which may be very important and very specific to humans, is language. All the knowledge I want to give to you, I will do it through language. All the speakers during this Congress have used language to give you information that you didn't know before. So language is a crucial tool for learning. And learning your own language, learning Spanish in your families, is starting very early on. It's starting at birth, even before birth. As soon as the ear is functioning, and you have seen in the preterm baby, so the last months of gestation, the brain is already processing the language. And baby at birth recognize the prosody, the melody of their own language. And they will learn during the first year of life all the sound that different languages are using. For example, the fact that you do not have the b, v, or the e, discrimination that we have in French, or the fact that as a French, I have no idea, but absolutely no idea, what the stress should be on a syllable of a word. And it's why you have this funny French accent where they put always the accent and the stress on the last syllable of the word, because it's a characteristic of French, and you learn it during the first year of school, of life, sorry. And after that, you already understand words at 6 months. Mom, dad, eat, hug, eat, especially for French. And you increase the number of words quite fast after the second year of life, and you should consider that. You are starting at 0 word. At 6 years, you understand 14,000 words. I mean, with all the combination of grammatical combination and so on. Do you see what does it mean? It means that at some point, a child is learning 10 to 20 words a day. So it's quite fantastic. And at 3 years, in fact, normally a child is totally speech is established, language is established, and you should remember that comprehension is ahead of production. And they are using this very nice network, brain network that we have seen before. But what is important is that when you look at the difference between children, you have many differences between the different children, and some have a very, for example, here you see the difference in production between 15 months and 30 months, and you see the huge difference that you have. Why? Because every child has the brain network to learn a language. But to learn a language, you need that somebody speak to you. And the problem is that in many families, now that we have very interesting mobile phones, very interesting movies and streaming and so on, is that they are much more interesting than your child. And so you are not speaking to the child. And the child cannot learn if nobody speaks to you. And I give you an evidence here in which you see the difference of activity in this frontal region depending on how many dialogues the child and the parents have had before. And when you look at the different families, you see that there is big gaps and we should teach to the parents how to speak to the children and to make sentences, to encourage the children to make dialogue and to read books. And so my last message will be that put down the phones, talk to the kid, and read to them. And that is the most important message that I want to give today. Because contrary to machine, human infants need to speak to somebody else, need to interact with somebody else. They get all these cues about how you are interested by them and how what they learn is interested for you. And all this dialogue you will nourrir all these basic capacities that we have seen. And they will learn and learn, and they will be our future. Thank you very much.